All right, what's up, guys? So this is something I wanted to talk about because I'm up late doing this video because this just happened recently, like in the last, I think, few hours here, depending on whenever you're catching the report that came out. The Supreme Court throws out Biden administration eviction moratorium. So we're gonna take a look at two articles here. This one from CNN, this one from the New York Times, and this is big. Definitely in the world of investing. If you're a landlord, if you own real estate, so if you're a landlord, property owner, you rent out to tenants, and that's how you make, a lot of your, or at least some or a lot of your income, and it helps your financial situation. This is big. This has been going on for a while with state level eviction moratoriums, federal level eviction moratoriums, and how much it's hurting some landlords, because they're trying to obviously protect tenants, but also, landlords a lot of them are taking a hit on this. So we'll go through parts of this. We're not going to read the whole thing word for word, but talks about the Supreme Court on Thursday, as I'm filming this in the evening. They blocked the Biden administration's COVID-related eviction moratorium. So, this is Congress was on notice that a further extension would almost surely require new legislation. Yet it failed to act in the several weeks leading up to the moratorium expiration, is what the court wrote in their 8-page opinion. It says if a federally imposed eviction moratorium is to continue, Congress must specifically authorize it, the court said. The three liberal justices dissented publicly, citing the spike in COVID-19 cases and the Delta variant. Let's scroll down a little more here. So it talks about the landlord groups and how they were, challenging the eviction ban, and they pointed to a concurrence written by Justice Brett Kavanaugh when the earlier version of the moratorium was before the Supreme Court in June. So this is interesting because Kavanaugh joined the four other justices. It was a 5-4 decision in letting the moratorium survive then. But the reason he said he did that was because it was scheduled to expire on July 31st. So he sided with them in June, but it was set to expire in July, is what Kavanaugh was saying. So this time, Kavanaugh voted the other way. So the majority of the justices said, nope, this eviction is going to end. Or this moratorium on evictions is going to end. So it talks about landlords accusing the administration of gamesmanship for reviving the moratorium. I also talked about how the court pointed to the decades-old statute that the CDC was relying on to defend the moratorium and say the court, this is what they're relying on. I think it was a law from like 1944 or something like that. And it basically said, the court said the CDC basically doesn't have that much authority to keep a eviction moratorium going. So then you look at this part here, and it talks about how this is the second time in a week that the Supreme Court's conservative majority has sided with those challenging Biden administration policies. It says on Tuesday, the court effectively ordered the revival of the Trump administration's Remain in Mexico policy, and Biden sought to end earlier this year. It says, this is their opinion on this, is what they think will happen. It says, together, the two cases previewed what will likely be years of Supreme Court actions that curtail Biden's agenda. So it just talks about the more liberal justices here and their dissent on the entire whole thing. So you have Justice Stephen Breyers. He was obviously not happy about it. He said the transmissions rates have spiked in recent weeks, reaching levels that the CDC puts as high as last winter, 150,000 new cases per day. And that was the big reason why there was the dissenting opinion, because they felt, hey, with the Delta variant, this eviction moratorium needs to continue. Obviously, the majority of the justices felt differently about it, but that's really the long and short of it when you look at it. Then we go over to the New York Times here. It just talks about Supreme Court ends Biden's eviction moratorium. The ruling followed political and legal maneuvering by the administration to retain protections for tenants. It puts hundreds of thousands at risk of being put out of their homes. This article here gives a little more detail. And it talks about, the 8-page opinion again. And it talks about how they say it puts hundreds of thousands of tenants at risk of losing shelter. While the administration struggles to speed the flow of billions of dollars in federal funding to people who are behind in rent because of the coronavirus. That's right, because they're trying to get a huge package passed. And of course, Democrats and Republicans are disagreeing on the amount of that package, but that's one of the big concerns going on right now. Talks about the CDC imposed nationwide moratorium on evictions And a Reliance Old Decade statute, that same statute from earlier, this is where the Supreme Court was like, nah, CDC, you don't have that much power, is basically what they were saying. Like, not to do this. So if you scroll down a little more, it'll tell us that, I thought this was kind of cool here because it broke down kind of what you can expect. Because it's not like moratoriums are going to just be like tomorrow people are going to be homeless. But it did talk a little bit about the fact that some states actually, you can like, I guess, fast track evictions. And there's mostly in southern states where I guess that is the case. So in like some of these states, it talks about how it says here, it will most likely take a while for the backlog of eviction cases in many states to result in the displacement of renters. But tenant groups in the South, where fast-track evictions are common, are bracing for the worst. So in recent days, Mr. Biden's team has been mapping out strategies to deal with the likely loss of the moratorium, with a plan to focus its efforts on a handful of states. So South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Ohio, I guess, have huge backlogs of unpaid rent. This says not as many statewide protections for tenants. So those may be states where it's faster to evict someone if you need to. So if you're a landlord in those states, you're liking the situation right now. You know, in other states, it's probably still going to wind up taking a while. It just goes over here again. It says the 5-4 vote from Kavanaugh beforehand, but now obviously, you know, the vote has changed. So, and then a lot of it's just similar information here to the previous article. So I mean, this is big, guys, that this moratorium is over, and what's going to happen. I mean, because part of the thought, too, is there may be a fourth stimulus check coming. And with this moratorium being over, you know, who knows how many people are actually going to wind up, you know, getting evicted. But it could be something where, you know, a few months from now, as people are, you know, in a lot of the states getting evicted, as we get closer to the holiday season, we may see talk of a fourth stimulus check coming. So this is big. I want to hear what you have to say. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again soon.